Here we're going to review solving a compound linear inequality and graph the solution. This is the basic version. So we're going to, here's the answer up here, but I'll show you how we get to here. So we're going to solve the compound inequality. 2x plus 4 is less than 2, and 4x plus 3 is greater than or equal to negative 13. We're going to graph the solution on the number line. So there's a couple things about this problem. First, you need to know how to read this sign, and you need to know how to read this sign. I actually like to think of this little trick. There's a few different ways to remember it. One way is to think, it eats the bigger number, right? So if this is the bigger number it's eating, then whatever's here is less than. And if this number is whatever is bigger, then it's greater than whatever's here. But there's another trick that I also like to use, and this one looks more like an L. So I remember that this one means a less. Oops. This one means less, right? So that means that this one must be greater, and you can actually even make a G out of it too. All right, so this one's less than, this one's greater than. All right, so let's go ahead and solve the compound inequality. I'm going to actually write it with text. I'm going to do the first one, and then I'll do the second one. So we have 2x plus 4 is less than 2. Now, in order to get x by itself, the first thing that we need to do is we need to subtract 4 from both sides. So I'm going to take 4 away from this side, and whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I'm going to take 4 away from that side also. So as you see, these 4's will cancel out, this one and this one. And 2 minus 4, we're still going to have our 2x. Those 4's cancel out, so you have 2x is less than negative 2. All right. So now what we need to do on both sides is divide by 2 to get x by itself. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So we're going to be dividing by 2 on both sides. And then we'll have x by itself is less than negative 2 divided by 2 would be negative 1. So this is one of our answers. X is less than negative 1. All right, so let's look at the next answer that we get. 4x plus 3 is greater than or equal to, right? Or equal to 4x plus 3 is greater than or equal to negative 13. Now I can't underline this, so let's just remember that this is not just greater than, there should be a line under here. Okay. All right. So in order to get x by itself, this is a two-step inequality. You want to subtract 3 from both sides first. And then you'll still have the 4x is greater than or equal to negative 13 and negative 3. Since they're both negative, it's still negative 16. Think of it as you owe someone $13 and you owe someone else $3. You owe a total of 16. We need x by itself, so we're going to have to divide by 4 on both sides. And that'll leave us with x is greater than negative divided by positive is a negative. So we have two things. We have x is less than negative 1, and x is greater than or equal to, let's see if we can put a line right here. It'll be a little below, but greater than or equal to greater than or equal to negative 4. All right, so here you can see when it's x is less than negative 1, whenever we have a less than sign, right, like this, whenever we have this less than sign, we're using an open circle. We're using an open circle, right? And then whenever we have a less than or equal to sign like this, a less than or equal to sign, we are using a filled in circle, right? So that's why you can see that here this is filled in, right? Whereas this one is open. So everything less than -1 goes to the left, and then anything that's greater than or equal to -4 would be going to the right. So that's why you're shading in between these two areas right here. That's why this is your final solution. Hopefully that helps with this problem. And then I'll show you another example in another video. But the main thing you need to remember in this case is here we were dividing by +2, and we were dividing by a +4, right? The thing that you need to remember is whenever you divide by a negative, you have to flip the inequality sign. So I'll make a note of that right here. When you divide by a negative number, and we didn't in this case, so we didn't do it, you flip the inequality sign, right? Meaning if you had a less than, that becomes a greater than, and if you have a greater than, that becomes a less than. Put this to this, or this to that.